We're live. Got 20 seconds.
Hit the hammer.
Yeah. I now call to order the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for Thursday, October 10, 2024 for the city of Ferrisburg. Let's have a roll call. Stirk, here. DeWitt.
Here.
Lyons.
That's Craig's
Here.
job.
That's Craig's job?
Don't you vote?
Oh, Craig,
Yeah.
go ahead.
That's why he's here.
Oh, he needs to earn his paycheck for that, right?
Chairman Stirk,
I'm here.
Board Member Lyons,
Here.
Board Member Milligan,
Here.
Board Member Holly,
Here.
Board Member DeWitt. Here.
We'll have the move for approval of the minutes of September 12 as circulated.
So moved.
Second. Moved by DeWitt, second by Lyons. Discussion?
I was not present at the September 12th meeting. However, it has me listed Vice Chairman Milligan read into the record, which would have not been possible if I was not here.
That relates to the July meeting.
Oh, okay. I'm just making sure. I'm not good at reading.
Why is spelled?
Yeah, I'm good then.
Because you were here and I was out about July. Roll call.
Board Member Lyons,
Yes.
Board Member Milligan,
Yes.
Board Member Holly,
Yes.
Board Member DeWitt. Yes. Chairman Stirk.
Yep.
Motion passed.
Now is the time for any public comments relating to any item that is not on the agenda. No public comments. I'd like to open a public hearing, a request by Ryan Goldman to construct an addition which will result in lot coverage of 54.8% instead of the permitted 35%, a variance from zoning ordinance section 9.150. Parcels described as parcel number 70, 315, 127, 033, 44, 039, and 040. That should be 044, commonly known as 16516 Lakeview Avenue. Mr. Goldman, you're up.
You guys hear me? Is this on? Perfect. Good evening. Members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, my name is Ryan Goldman, and I'm here to request a variance that would allow us to basically construct a small single-story addition to connect the garage and the house on our property. When my family purchased this property last December, we're aware that the house and the garage basically consumes and occupied about 49.8% of the lot, which is obviously above the 35%. So we're requesting to add an additional 5%, which would get us to a total of 54.8%. And the primary reason for this request is essentially to improve the overall usability, convenience, and most importantly, just the safety of our property. And to kind of touch on those things for a second, the improved usability and safety. We have two young children who currently have a bonus room above the garage, which is used as their playroom. As it stands now, they have to exit the house, go outside through the garage just to get access to the playroom, which they find unsettling and a little bit scary. So by connecting the garage and the house, they could access the playroom directly without having to step outside. This would provide us as parents peace of mind, but also give the kids the confidence and the comfort to enter and visit the playroom independently. Regarding utility integration and year-round functionality, currently the bonus room that's above the garage is not usable during the winter months because of the existing utilities that are in there just are not properly enclosed. So this necessitates us having to winterize that specific building to prevent any damage. But by connecting the house and the garage, that will utilize us to basically integrate the utilities within the main house, ensuring that it's functional year-round. And being that this is our forever home, we kind of want to make sure it's done right. So that's the intent there. In addition, to make it easier for the kids to access the house, we get some brisk and harsh lake winds that we've all known to experience in the winter, and just having the ability to carry groceries from the garage into the house rather than having to walk outside about 20 feet would definitely be a convenience factor. We have taken great care to ensure that the proposed addition will have minimal impact on any of the neighbors. The addition will not be visible from the road whatsoever at all, nor will it be visible from the neighboring houses to the north. Only the neighbors to the east and the west will be able to see part of the addition, which I believe, Craig, that both the neighbors on the east and the west have sent an email, I believe, saying that they're in support of this change and are okay with that. I also believe that many of the neighbors in the nearby area that received a letter from the city of Ferrisburgh also responded or emailed Craig saying that they would be all for the addition and the improvements that we're making. I think it's also important to know that the house directly to the west is actually my parents who are sitting here tonight, who are also in favor of us adding this addition. And then that takes me to the stormwater mitigation. So I understand the importance of responsible stormwater management, and so we have put together a stormwater mitigation plan to ensure that the addition does not negatively impact the adjacent properties. So by installing your rainwater gardens and permeable pavements around the property to manage and absorb the runoff. Additionally, looking at installing gutters, or we will install gutters and downspouts, which will be directed to rain barrels and designated drainage areas to effectively control the water flow. This comprehensive plan ensures that the stormwater is responsibly managed, protecting both our property but also the neighboring properties. Lastly, I would like the board just to know that earlier this week, I requested with Craig that we combine all 4 of the parcels that we own into one, as all 4 of them are, as Mr. Clerk had mentioned, or Sturk mentioned, excuse me, getting those all into one. And this just kind of shows the emphasis on our commitment of maintaining integrity of the property and simplifying its management. In closing, this variance will significantly improve the safety, accessibility, and the functionality of our home without negatively impacting any of our neighbors or the community. So we appreciate your considering in this request, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. I've also have our contractor here in the event that any questions would be like to direct it there as well. Thank you.
Any other comments?
And were you all able to see the map? I guess that was attached. Yeah,
Yep.
looks like most of you have that. Yeah. So I have photos also if anybody would like to see those. And I do know that there was one comment on the Horizons plan that came, I believe, from an independent company out of Grand Rapids. And I just wanted to clarify one piece of that because he said on the first page that this property appears to be owned by several different individuals. Well, I do have the deed, the warranty deeds, and I talked to Craig about this earlier in the week, is that we do own all 4 of those properties. The Ottawa County website just has not updated all 4 of them. The main parcel, which is what the house is on, has been updated, but if you go to each of the other parcels, which I have copies of all those if you'd like to see them, actually shows that there was a multi-parcel sale of all 4 of those per pieces of property that do belong to Kimberly and I.
Ryan, have you investigated conjoining those 4 properties so that you have a single?
Yeah, I
Is that true?
spoke to him earlier this week about doing that, and I sent him a request to combine all 4 of them.
Craig, question for you is, if we were to take that cement driveway out and make that a permeable driveway with pavers, so, you know, would that get him under the allowable percentage?
I don't know the answer to that. I haven't done that calculation. But the only thing that doesn't count against lot coverage is that those tiles with the grass in between.
Right, but my question is in my mind, to approve this request, we should offset the drainage issue.
It is a shared driveway with the neighbor to the east.
Well, that is a shared driveway? When I
That,
looked at it, I did not notice it as a shared driveway.
it is totally our driveway. I mean, so if you look at the, the overlay map, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which one are you looking at? So if you're looking at this one, we basically use all the driveway that would be to the east, right? As Craig's saying. So they don't use that driveway whatsoever at all.
Is it all on your property?
Is all of it on our property? No, technically no, because right up, like I'd say within a foot and a half of it
Yeah.
is, I think, their property. If you look at these lines, but again, I don't know how accurate the over aerial shots are, so
Problem we have with all of the
Yeah.
properties out in the
Yeah.
inland overlay.
yep.
I have a question for Craig. There's a new house that went up last year, east a little bit further. It's 2-story blue with white trim. It seems to me that that is pushing over 50% of the lot space. It's a brand new rebuild. It was a tear down and a rebuild.
Without looking it up, I don't know what the lot coverage was on that.
Your Honor, that was, what they did is they tore down a house, built the house on the same footprint and went another story, which in the inland overlay district, that is allowed. They did not increase the size of the house, but used the same footprint.
Yep.
And then went up, which is allowed even though they had more. Okay. I recall that one.
Well, I watched it go up. It's
Up and up.
I would say that there's several other additions that have gone in on that road, that particular road. I know there was an individual that connected 2 houses together very recently. Similar situation, I would imagine that one is obviously seen from the road, whereas ours is not visible or will not be visible from the road, and only technically by one of the neighbors, which would be my parents. So if the, sorry, I'm gonna say something.
Craig, wasn't there at one time an issue with the drainage coming through the Mary Street area there? Has that been resolved?
We're working on resolving those drainage issues in that area, yes.
Because that plays a factor in this too. I think as far as the ordinance is concerned, the request that Mr. Goldman is making is probably outside of the parameters of being able to approve. But on the other hand, on all of that property that's out there on the inland overlay area, it's difficult to press our ordinances specifically, just simply because of the way that things are laid out over there. It's, I guess, not being all that kindly, it's kind of a mess. But I would think that if some effort was made to alleviate water that comes off of that new structure, along with the rest of the water retention and water maintenance, that we might be able to make an exception here.
Your Honor, I have a major concern is, Mr. Lyons has that, Mary Street kind of dead ends into the back of this house, doesn't it?
Yes.
And that whole area of Mary, between your house and West Spring Lake Road is always underwater. We're always having issues in there with trying to, I don't know where we're at with that, trying to alleviate that water to the West Spring Lake ditch, aren't we?
Yeah, that ditch was just cleaned out a couple years ago.
Hasn't been addressed because I like water stuff.
So that if that particular Mary Street is to the east of our property, so it's not behind our property.
It's still the basic same area. And the
The-
property behind yours is just as low as, Mary Street.
And that's where we'll take, with rain, make sure that we have gutters, downspouts, tile drains, going to, catching basins for that is the goal and the idea.
That's a noble intent.
Say what?
That is a noble intent.
Yes.
However, there is a significant amount of water that comes off of the Spring Lake Road area across the Mary Street property there. And we are concerned about it because it's been a continual property or a continual problem for those properties in there. But
We've never had
I'm going to kind of
flooding.
yield to the zoning manager here to see what what we can do, or if we have a serious enough problem with what comes off of Mary Street to deny this request.
I'm not aware of any drainage issues in that area down in the east end of Lakeview.
We've never had any drainage issues. I mean, and none of our neighbors have, I guess, gutters or drainage basins, and we've never had any floods or any retention issues or water issues. So,
Okay. Craig, this is in the Inland Overlay District, correct?
Yes, it is.
That does not allow us to approve this because of the inland overlay, correct? It's an addition, not a replacement house.
It's up to the board's discretion whether to approve the variance or not.
So inland overlay would not factor into this decision one way or another.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, now will be a time for it to take other public comments.
Additional public comments? How about, you get to be up front.
Name and address.
Actually, I live right next door to them, and that was our house before it was their house, okay?
Okay.
We lived there for 22 years. We've never had an issue. The back of that house was full of trees at one time. And Jan McLaughlin, who lives next door to us now, cleared that whole property, okay? All those trees have been gone. Since that, it seems like it's dry. I mean, I don't know if it's because it dries out and it's just better drainage or whatever, but when all the trees were there, it just seemed to be more damp, out in that field. Now that field is bone dry and we haven't had an issue whatsoever in that whole area. So, I mean, if that helps you at all, and that drain out there, that Mary Street drain, runs pretty good. I mean, we keep it cleaned out all the time to make sure it's flowing to the lake.
Mhm.
So that helps you at all.
Jan, for the record, could
Oh, Kim.
you state your
Kim.
name and address?
Kim Goldman, 16527 Lakeview.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Additional comment? I move the public hearing be closed. All in favor?
You close it. You need to close.
I close the public hearing at 7:19.
There you go. Fine.
Motion to approve, not approve, a request filed by Ryan Goldman to construct an addition which would result in lot coverage of 54.8%. A as compared to the 35% variance from the zoning ordinance of section 91.50. Parcel described as parcel 70-03-15-127-033, 044, 039, 040, commonly known as 16519 Lakeview Avenue.
Craig, does he need to report in? Record prior to?
A motion, yes, please.
Before or after?
Before, please.
All right. Standards for granting a variance. I don't have to read it.
No.
Gotta read it
I just described it. The applicant requests a single-story connection between the dwellings and the garage, adding 440 square feet of lot coverage, increasing the existing coverage for the 4 lots from 49.8 to 54.8. Section 9150 limits lot coverage to 35% in the RG1 zoning district. And considering the 2 buildings on 4 lots, the lot coverage is already non-conforming, and the proposal will further increase the degree of non-compliance. No variance in provisions or requirements of the zoning ordinance shall be authorized by the Zoning Board of Appeals unless it is found from the evidence that all of the following conditions exist. 1, that compliance with the zoning ordinance would result in practical difficulties to be exceptional, extraordinary, or unique circumstances or conditions of the land or parcel, such as exceptional narrowness of the width or depth of a lot or a parcel of an irregular shape. B, exceptional natural or topographic features located on the lot or parcel, such as steep slopes, water, existing significant trees, or other unique and extreme physical conditions of the land. C, extraordinary location of an existing building or location that allows for no other practical or feasible location for the expansion because of the exceptional features of the land. D, other exceptional or extraordinary dimensional conditions or characteristics of the land, lot, or parcel. Although the combined lot area does not conform to the area and width requirements of RG1 zoning, the situation is common to this area with Inland Lake Overlay District. Several lots are smaller and narrower than subject property. Additionally, dimensions of the lot do not relate to the lot coverage issue in the same manner that they may affect compliance with setback. 2, that unusual circumstances do not apply to most of the other lots or parcels in the same manner or to the same extent to other lots or parcels in the same zoning district. Comment. As stated earlier, there are numerous substandard lots in the area. Any similar situation owner seeking additional square footage coverage could make a similar argument. 3, that the variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right. The possibility of increased financial return shall not of itself be deemed sufficient to warrant a variance. Comment. The site has already been developed with a dwelling and detached garage. Property rights associated with the lots are already enjoyed. 4, granting of the variance will not be substantial detriment to adjacent neighborhood land uses and properties. Comment. The cumulative impact of excess lot coverage in this area could ultimately impact the character and aesthetic of the neighborhood. 5, the applicant shall not have created the problem for which the variance is being sought. The problem exists because the applicant's personal desires and preferences to add additional footage to the dwelling by connecting the garage. The development potential of the property is already maximized far beyond the 35% lot coverage permitted for the district. 6, that the granting of the variance will not be contrary to the public interest and that the spirit of this ordinance shall be observed. Public safety secured and substantial justice done for both the applicant and other owners of the property in the district. General comment. Variance approval would award the owner an unfair and singular development advantage for other property owners in the neighborhood. Additionally, variance request directly conflicts the requirement and spirit of the zoning ordinance, specifically section 350 required area and dimensions. No lot, required yard area, required parking area, required lot width, or other required open space shall be created, divided, or reduced in dimensions or area below the minimum requirements of this ordinance. Based on the findings of this documented in this report, all standards have not been met. I recommend the denial of the variance request. However, if the ZBA feels otherwise, I would recommend that the 4 lots be combined as a condition of approval.
Your Honor, you entertain a motion?
I entertain a motion.
I would entertain a motion to deny the request. Seeing as how it doesn't meet, all the zoning, requirements for approval.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion. What? Any discussion?
No discussion.
There's a motion. We can vote.
All right. At this point, I'm open to anybody's comments. Nobody wants to make a comment?
Nobody speaking up?
All right. There's been a motion made and seconded. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 I'm opposed.
I'm opposed too. It fails 3-2. Motion to deny is passed. At 7:26, I would like to open the public hearing and request Violetta Glasser, is that correct? Laser, all right. To permit a 6-foot-high fence instead of the permitted 3-foot-high fence in a waterfront yard, a variance from zoning ordinance section 2.90D. Parcels described, parcel number 700309 431-009, commonly known as 17780 Cove Street. You're up. You're up.
Going to read this because I probably wouldn't remember everything if I didn't. Begin with, I actually never have wanted or never even considered applying for a variance. I had no intention of doing it. But I'm requesting this because, do I need this anymore? Or can you hear me okay?
If you're talking to Mike that way, can you get picked up in the audio, please?
And it's recorded properly.
Okay, I'm requesting this because the salesman who sold me the fencing did not get an okay for the type of fencing I chose or get a permit for it, and now it's non-compliant. And he told me, we discussed the fencing and talked about what kind of fencing I might use. And he told me that he wasn't sure that I could do all the things use all the fencing that I wanted, and that he would get a permit and he would discuss the type of fencing with probably Craig, I would imagine. Anyway, I replaced the fencing I had before that was 6 feet or 6 foot of wooden fencing, 6 foot high wooden fencing with 6 foot vinyl fencing. And this was on the side, and it was done in the same area. And then, however, I did request that the fencing go around the corner to the back of the yard. This came along the side of the yard on the west side, facing south. And I requested that he take it around the corner because there's a really unsightly area that the neighbor had, and it was right next, my house was probably maybe 10 feet from the property line, and there was a chain link fence there that belonged to me. And there were spruce trees that had been there since I moved there. My husband and I moved there, and they'd been there 32 years. So they were pretty large. And then the fence was on my side of it, and so no one maintained anything in between the trees and the fence. And so the trees came over into my yard, probably like 3 feet or more, and had weeds growing all around that whole area. And even poison ivy. I had people work, a couple of guys work in my yard, and they both got poison ivy because it came through the fence. Anyway, so I thought that that would be good to take that around the corner and put it there so that I wouldn't have to constantly look at this area that wasn't maintained. And so, anyway, I have to find out where I was with that. So anyway, they had put that in it, and it was back, turned the corner into a waterfront yard. And it was 5 panels that I put in there. And the reason I did the 5 panels was that was how much fencing it took to cover the area. And I don't know if you have this picture here. Do you all have that picture? Okay. That fencing for the trees, all that stuff was right in.
We can actually see this here in the,
Yes.
in the, so just for clarification, you replaced this section of the fence, which has been there previously with the,
This actually goes on beyond. You
Okay.
see these plants right?
oh, I see,
That's the
okay.
planting, so.
Mm-hmm.
Whoops, fence, types of. And trying to see. That's how far the fence.
Okay.
went.
And then the 6-foot fence that's in contention is this piece here, correct?
And actually went from.
Yeah.
And I know it says that I have.
Yeah, okay.
I just wanted to show you that and how close my patio is.
Yeah.
So all
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
Right here is my patio, right next.
Here's the patio.
And every time you walk out, you see all these. Garden. So I thought that was. So,
scooch down and show the other one.
okay, so he was going to. This is the area where the. Right, you know, it's really immaterial. That's why. I have to- I go.
You've already put up a new foundation there, right?
Yes, it already is.
You're wanting to add more to that?
I'm not.
So what you put up is what we're doing with the variance. Okay, that's what I wondered, because when I went by, I was like, it's already up, okay.
So, Mrs. Glazer, to your knowledge,
Pardon?
the contractor that you had to put the fence in obtained a building permit from the city,
He did not, told me,
but he didn't.
and he did not, ask about size of it. Check on it. He said that he talked to some,
Uh-huh.
I think. That doesn't, he said no, call, but I suspect he did not follow through.
Okay.
Issuing one after.
Well, he's kind of
And
driven you
so-
into a pickle here because,
Pardon?
he's kind of driven you into a pickle here because we are pretty stringent about, blocking the view of, which would require a maximum height. I'm sorry? Yeah, well, we understand. We're not here to crucify you.
So anyway, let me go on from there. I just said, I did not know the zoning ordinance, but my salesman had told me that he would make sure all the fencing I chose was acceptable and that he would get a permit if it was required. He said sometimes if you're replacing a fence, that some places don't require a permit. But anyway, all the fencing I replaced was in the same area, except I just changed the chain link to the 6-foot vinyl.
Yeah.
And anyway, he did not get the permit, and I didn't know that he didn't get it. And so I told you about the 5 panels was meant to hide the unsightly view from the neighbor. And after the fencing was installed, I learned from the salesman that he had neglected to get that. And he said I needed to request a variance, and he brought me some papers to fill out for the variance. And I really don't know where he went to speak to someone because the variance was from Grand Haven. And I told him that was not the right place, so I picked one up. But anyway, I'm asking for the variance on the waterfront because it's already installed. However, what I felt was such a mess in the backyard has been corrected. I got a new neighbor, and it just so happened that the same week that they put in the fence, the new neighbor took out all the trees and all the weeds and leveled his ground there.
Oh.
So that isn't a problem anymore.
Well,
So-
strangely enough, the plants that were there were blocking their view of the lake, and those were within the confines of the ordinance. The plants.
You
The
can't do
fence,
that.
unfortunately, is not.
Yeah.
And would require that fence be reduced to 3 feet to be within compliance. And
Yes, actually, I would have to say it was amazing how much it opened up that area when
Oh,
those
yeah.
trees came out.
sure,
But before, there was no view. But, I mean,
yeah,
I guess the whole thing is that, I understand the thing about waterfront property, and you don't want to change it because you don't want to change what you let somebody do. You can't let somebody do something that you don't let everyone
Yeah.
do.
Well,
And so I'm honestly not concerned about that. My main reason for being here, and I did consider not coming, canceling, is just to make sure that it's on record that I did come in here and ask if that could be okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there are going to be problems with the resolution of this, with the fencing company. Because all of the fence is in.
Well, unfortunately, what happens, and there's been another issue in the city with regard to a development that has been proposed out on 168th Street, where some of the adjoining neighbors are complaining about losing their visibility to the lake. And that issue has been handled by the Planning Commission. We were not allowed to look at that through the zoning board. However, I think it raises cause within the zoning board here to be very stringent in enforcing the ordinance. And I think we should discuss it a little bit further here on the board. And maybe Heather, you could make a comment with regard to
I have a
your
question.
feelings.
I have a question, actually. What fencing company did you use?
You know what, I'm really not here.
I was wondering what fencing company you used. It seems baffling that a fencing company wouldn't know that they have to get permits and stuff.
Who's the vendor?
Who is your fencing company? Who did? Affordable Fence, okay.
About the job they did, great job.
He was a salesman.
Yeah. So now that these trees are down, you'd be happy with the black? You don't need a privacy fence now that the trees are down?
You know, honestly, I would like a couple to go around that corner. Probably about 12 feet. I think I could.
Yeah, you can keep that. The variance request is for the 40 feet going to south.
Talking about the 40.
Yep.
So that is not.
Correct.
Talk to you about it. And I need. I'm gonna. As far as the two. I love. I never. I just.
Craig, now you had a 6 foot, high chain link fence?
I have. My last number.
Okay.
North.
Okay.
That's.
And this fencing down along here,
Backyard. I have.
Right.
non-compliant fence is 3 foot.
That part's
chain link,
fine.
and that part's fine. This could be reduced to 3 feet and be within the ordinance.
Well, I probably do because I had them.
Mm-hmm.
They're just. Pull that up. That's what I.
Okay. I'd be going after them too. I'd be going after those people too.
Yes, you know, honestly, what's that?
You should.
Right away.
I would say they've got a legal issue.
You are on this.
Do you have a certificate of insurance? You have an insurance certificate from them,
From the contractor?
from the contractor.
Contracting
You need a paper copy. And also ask them for what's called an accord form. The accord form does two things. It gives them the information as to what their workman's comp carrier is, also their general liability carrier. And this is a general liability issue from a products standpoint. Now, I'm not an attorney, but that's where you need to start.
Right, our decision would hold up in court as far as any proceedings you do here. Okay, so you get a printed copy from requirements we have, and then you can take that to your attorney.
Move to close the hearing at,
Is it okay to go sit down?
oh, yep, any other comments? I move the hearing be closed at 7:46. We're open for a motion to approve or not approve a request filed by Liletta Glasser to permit a 6-foot-high fence instead of the permitted 3-foot-high fence in the waterfront yard, a variance of zoning ordinance 3.90D. Parcels described as number 700309, 431-009, commonly known as 17780 Cove Street.
Your Honor, I would make a motion to not approve the request.
Second.
I would like to read the report from Horizon Community. In waterfront yards, fences are restricted to 3 feet height. Waterfront yard, a fence, wall, screen in a waterfront yard shall be subject to the same requirements as front yards, 3 feet, as in paragraph A above, except for a swimming pool enclosure as required in section. This section shall be 5 feet high. Ordinance 243 from March 3 of 2008. No variance in provisions or requirements of the zoning ordinance shall be authorized by the Zoning Board of Appeals unless it is found that evidence of all the following conditions exist. Compliance with the zoning ordinance would result in practical difficulties to be exceptional, extraordinary, unique circumstances or conditions of land parcels such as exceptional narrowness of width, depth, lot, parcel, or irregular shape, exceptional natural topographic features located on the lot or parcel such as steep slopes, water, existing significant trees, or other unique or extreme physical conditions of the land. Extraordinary location of existing building or structure that allows no other practical or feasible location or expansion features of the land. Other exceptional or extraordinary dimensional conditions or characteristics of the land, lot, or parcel. Comment. Although the lot is irregular in shape, there are no exceptional, extraordinary, or unique characteristics of the lot related to compliance with the fence height requirements. 2, that the unusual circumstances do not apply to most or other lots or parcels in the same manner or in the same extent, or to other lots or parcels in the same zoning district. Comment. All waterfront lots are subject to the same requirements. The predicament is not unique to this property. When non-conforming structures are voluntarily removed, they cannot be reconstructed unless they're conforming to all zoning requirements. That the variance is 3. The variance is necessary for preservation or enjoyment of a substantial property right. Possibility of increased financial return shall not of itself be deemed sufficient to warrant a variance. Comment. The owner has the right to construct 3-foot replacement fence in the same location, which is the same property right afforded to others in the property, other waterfront property owners. That the granting of the variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent nearby land uses and properties. Comment. Taller fences within waterfront yards have the potential to impact views of the water up by adjacent lot owners. This is the reason why fence heights are limited on waterfront lots. 5. The applicant shall not have created the problem for which the variance is being sought. Comment, since the replacement fence, this is a replacement fence, the applicant did not create the problem if the original fence was lawfully constructed. 6, that the granting of the variance will not be contrary to public interest. The spirit of the ordinance shall be observed, public safety secured, substantial justice done for both the applicant and other property owners. Comment, variance approval would award the owner an unfair and singular development advantage of other waterfront properties. While privacy fences are desirable, the intent of the ordinance is to restrict fence heights waterfront lots to ensure consistent aesthetic on the waterfront properties and to minimize impacts on view sheds. Recommendation. Only one standard has been met based on the findings documented in this report. Recommends denial. Comments? Call for a vote. All those in favor of denial or not approve the request?
Board Member Milligan? Board Member Holly?
Yes.
Board Member DeWitt? Board Member Lyons?
Yes.
Chairman Stirk?
Yep.
Motion passed.
John,
Yes.
before we move on to number 9, public hearing, the variance on, Point. Craig, can we table this until we actually get a print of what's proposed? I wanna see a print before we haven't seen a print of the house or the footprint or the setbacks or any of that nature.
The city planner is recommending that this be tabled until we get more information.
Make a motion, we table this.
Support.
Who support it? Joe?
Holly? We have a roll call vote?
Board Member Holly?
Yes.
Board Member DeWitt?
Yes.
Board Member Lyons?
Yes.
Chairman Stirk?
No.
Motion passed.
Any reports by the ZBA members?
I got one question, Craig, that fence over on Mohawk or Turkey? Probably, changed on that pool,
Oh, as far as I know, yes. I'll check into that.
thank you.
Yeah, they did pull a permit.
Excuse me,
They did pull a permit.
but you don't know if it's been done.
No.
Okay, I'm assuming George would check into that?
Yep.
Okay. Just the other thing, welcome Holly to the board. I
Thank you.
forgot to welcome you last week. So. Anything else? Motion to adjourn.
Support.
All right. Public comment, yes.
Yep, absolutely.
We'll have open for public comments.
My name's Chris Kettler. I'm the applicant for the number 9, the zoning for the average waterfront setback variance. I just want to clarify, there was a print that was submit to show the building envelope, make sure that everybody had that. And I'm not, so what are we looking for? I mean, I didn't think that any of that had to be provided for this meeting. I was under the impression that that's a planning commission item. So I'm a little, I was surprised to not be heard at all. Anyways, is that a requirement of zoning board of appeals to submit prints to the house?
City planner is recommending that, yes.
Okay.
Craig, this comes to the ZBA, doesn't go to.
Correct.
well, building permit perhaps. I didn't know that the zoning board of appeals approved building elevations. That's my only, that's my comment.
Okay, the main concern we have is footprint on the property.
And that's shown by I mean, where the footprint would be is shown by the red outline. If you want, I'm happy to prepare more information, obviously. But I just want to be clear on what it is that I need to come with next time, because not even getting a chance to come up here and make any presentation caught me by surprise. So I'm hearing like a site plan design with the footprint of the house.
The planner's looking for, the floor plan of the house,
Okay,
and then the dimensions, actual dimensions from the setbacks, and the elevation, how big it's gonna be, how high.
okay,
So he's kind of looking for the square footage of the footprint.
fair enough. Thanks for your time.
Motion adjourned.
Second.